Welcome to the Ardan Podcast. This is Ala Kennedy, and today with me is Oscar Hedaya. Oscar, in about 2 minutes, give me the rundown of where you are today, what you're doing, where are you? Tell me all that.
Yeah, so I live in Miami, Florida, and yeah, the best place. It's about
We're
80 degrees
neighbors.
outside. Oh, where are
We're
you?
neighbors. I'm here in Miami, Florida.
High five. We could have done this live. I grew up in New Jersey and lived most of my life in New York. I live in Miami now. I This is my third startup that I'm involved in. And this one specifically is about security. Me and my team, we invented a smart safe. So it's the first safe in the world to have cameras, a touch screen, like tamper sensors, and it connects to a mobile app. So you can think of like Ring doorbell, but for
Okay.
safes and what safes should have been for the last 15 years.
My God, this is crazy. Just like my first question in my head is, how did you get to that point? How did you you just woke up and say like safe? How did you get to that point?
You know what? Honestly, I wish it were that simple. I'm a product guy, and I've been in product development for nearly 15 years. So, yeah. So
Yeah, don't give it up.
oh no, no. So I've been in like creating and improving products over the last decade. We had a situation in my family where we had a little theft, and so needed a safe, and looked into the safe industry and said like, hey, this sucks. There's nothing really out there that is up to date. It's kind of been stagnant for the last 20 years, and the most advanced safe you kind of see is really like a fingerprint scanner or a digital keypad. And to be in 2020 and have something so outdated, it's kind of not fair.
Yeah, they're usually one or the other. The
Yeah.
keypad and the physical keypad. Like I couldn't resist and I looked at your website and the safe, the UI of the safe, it looks like a gigantic iPhone. Like to me, that's how it looks. I don't know if that is the reality, but that's how it looked to me. And then my second question was like, oh, this connects to an app. People would have the belief that if you can connect it into some Wi-Fi or whatever, somebody's just gonna hack it. So, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anytime you're connecting anything to the internet, you'll end up having exploits somehow. But the trade-off is control and visibility. So currently with safes right now, there is no way to get any notifications if something happens to your safe, if there's an intruder. That's kind of where the trade-off happens. Maybe there's a chance that something could maybe happen if something's connected to the internet, but the odds of that happening are very low compared to the benefits that you're receiving. Specifically with our safe, if somebody tries to unlock the safe with the PIN code, if somebody opens the safe, we have 44 different notifications. So if something's happening, and you and we're in an office right now, so we don't know if something's happening in our home.
Right.
So that's kind of the beauty of having notifications. And specifically for our safe, we're talking about like connecting to Wi-Fi. Of course, like I was saying before, anytime you put anything on the internet,
Yes.
but you need to be responsible. You need to have a good firewall, a good router. So if the router is secure and it's a good quality router, the um, the opportunity, like the potential, not
Right.
opportunity, but the potential for threats are much, much, much lower. And specifically for us, we're encrypted on the device. We are encrypted on the back end. So we have really good encryption and really good security. But of course, it doesn't stop anything. You see the
Well, yeah.
CIA, the NASA, NSA, even Apple,
Right.
the largest company in the world, it happens from time to time.
Well, yes, it happens to the best of them. It's just, but just the fact that you have the additional cameras to just like see what's happening is just crazy. And you can speak, right? Like in
Yeah.
the door cameras and stuff. Oh my God. I would have so much fun with my daughters or something. Like I was like, what are you doing? Just jump. Oh my God. No, I'm so bad for that. I can't have that. It's too much fun for me.
So it's, by the way, you actually said it before correctly. You asked me about the safe. Does it have like a touch screen? Does it have a glass? So the concept of the touch screen actually came from Tesla's screen, Tesla's touch
Oh,
screen,
okay.
and the concept of the two-way talk came from Ring Doorbell. So there was a lot of taking a lot of amazing features from one place and another place and saying like, hey, what are we missing in this world? How do we make it like super secure, super safe, and different?
It looks cool. I'm gonna tell you that. It looks cool. I saw it and I was like, this is really cool. Now, Oscar, we're gonna walk into the time machine.
Hmm.
You're gonna tell me right now. We're gonna go to the past, to your beginnings. But to do that, you're gonna tell me which year you graduated high school and when in the world were you?
I have to think. Okay. So graduated high school in 2004,
Okay.
and I was in New Jersey, Ocean Township Public High School, or whatever it was. It was a public school, Ocean Township High School. There were about 1,000 students
That's a
in,
lot. It's big high
yeah,
school.
yeah, in the whole, yeah, it was a little more. I think it was 1,200 students.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't,
big.
yeah.
Tell me who Oscar was in high school. Like, how was he thinking? What was he into? What kind of things you were doing at that point? And more importantly, when was the first memory that you have with like a computer, tech, or something of that sort?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey, and when I started growing up, we were in an affluent family, in a nice city, in a nice home. My family ended up, so when I was young, we had a lot of money, and then after that we had family business problems. So kind of the money disappeared. So I grew up in like a nice, wealthy home, and then it was, hey, you need to watch what you're spending type of thing and budgeting.
Okay.
So you could kind of understand. This is the first time I think I'm saying this in public, by the way.
Did this happen when you were in high school already, or was it younger than that?
No, I must have been like 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember flying first class internationally, little kid in like a
Right.
massive seat, and then not flying anywhere at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So the life went from like luxury to like really watching what you're doing, living a tight life. And so that's kind of like the background on Oscar in terms of like a financial aspect.
Okay, so yeah, that makes it like whatever happens when you're little, it marks a lot of many of the things that you do and look forward to when you're growing. Like you try to like correct it or like make up for it when you're older or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, the more important part is at an early age, I just had to work hard really young because, my friends were, let's say, getting $100 a week in like allowance, and Oscar doesn't get any allowance,
Right.
so like,
And Oscar, you figure it out.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, my parents were amazing. It's just we had a shitty financial situation.
Right. And
And
it comes from one from the other as a parent. Do you have kids? Well, don't
no,
tell me
not
then.
yet. Not
Okay.
yet.
But like as a parent, I have two that I gave birth to and five that I married into. So
Wow.
seven kids.
Wow. It's a
So
big
when
household.
yes. Well, not all of them are with us, but many of them are already out. But when you're a parent, you usually think of how I'm gonna do this for my kid, how I'm just gonna. So I can only imagine. I would love to talk to your parents about that, like at some point. But
Yeah,
doesn't
part
matter.
two. We'll do part two.
Yes, and we'll bring on your parents. Okay, keep telling me high school.
Yeah, so basically I was also we I had three siblings, one older brother, two younger sisters, and I was pretty much that kid who had a lot of energy and was the I guess the annoying child in the family, like always causing chaos. That was Oscar, which was interesting because I'm only realizing it now that you're asking me, but in at home I was like that, but in school I was super good.
We're the same. I was like that in my home, and at school, I was a saint.
Yeah. And it makes you realize I'm 39 years old right now, and it makes you realize as you're getting older, in your 30s, you start to like understand all of the dynamics of everything. But I definitely did not get enough attention or love as a child in
Hmm.
my household. And it doesn't mean my parents didn't give enough attention or love. It just means they weren't giving me enough of what I required, because everybody
Right.
requires something different,
Yes,
right?
every kid is different.
Yeah. And you know that. I mean, you had
Yes.
technically seven, so you see
Yeah.
that.
Every kid is different.
Yeah, every kid is different. Every kid requires different. So in school, I was like this super good kid. And I was never the kind of kid who did homework when I went home. But in school, I was like super goody two shoes. And
Hmm.
yeah, and I was always like that minimalist child. So if I was bringing something home to do homework and I always like, I guess I assessed each class and said like, how important is this? How important is that?
Okay.
So it's interesting. Again, I never thought about this until I'm talking to you about it right now out loud. But I guess I was like smart for my age. The fact that I like thought ahead of like, do I need to do this homework? If I don't do this homework, is it important? And so when I would leave school, I would I hated a heavy backpack. Hated it.
Okay.
So I had like small little notepads, notebooks. If I could not take home a whole book, I would take like a
Right.
little, yes, as little as I could do, as little as I could carry, but still being able to accomplish whatever I needed to.
Okay. Yeah. So you were making your priorities really straight from the beginning. What was your
Yeah,
favorite class?
math.
Math. That
Yeah,
was your favorite class. Wow.
yeah. Loved math, always loved math. Never cared for English or literature or history. I loved history, I just couldn't retain any of that
So
information.
reading wasn't your thing, right? You
No,
hated reading and all those ELA
I hated
classes,
it.
and
Yes.
then the writing of the essay and like all this stuff, man.
Hated it. I was a good student like in English and literature, and it came to me pretty easily, but I never liked it. I always felt like
Right.
what's the point of this, and like math, you're really like you're always learning and improving your skills, where literature is like okay, like do I
It's
need to
very
put the before the
subjective.
word?
And it's very subjective. You read and you interpret and like you figure it out. And what if I
Yes.
don't agree with what I'm reading? Instead, math is like 2 plus 2 is 4, and there's no other way to change that. And it always gonna be 4, and no matter what you do, it is gonna be 4. You
Yeah,
know?
but it also expands your mind, like forget about like plus. Once you start adding, you start doing
Exactly.
geometry and adding algebra and all these other things where plus, minus, parentheses, it's
Yes, PEMDAS.
PEMDAS, yeah, can never forget that. But you know what? Again, like I can't believe how much I'm saying this on the podcast, but I never really thought about all of this until now, saying it out loud with you. But it's incredible the way even as a young kid you're kind of like creating who you're developing who you're going to be as you
Yes.
grow.
And then when was the first time you ever like had well, it was 2000. So computers were pretty mainstream. Like let me put that into context. The first time I've ever saw a computer in my home was like I don't know, maybe the 80s or something. I grew up in Colombia as well. So and then I used it to play Cubert. But like that was computers were like not in every household. like at that point. But in 2000s, computers were everywhere in the library, in your house, like there would be like more computers, were more widespread, like back in the 80s,
So
you know?
I actually had as far as I could remember, 1988, we already had a computer.
Good.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we had money. My
Right.
dad loved tech, and I remember, I mean, he always tells us this, but in his business, in his family business, he was incorporating computers and servers and all kind of information at a very, very early stage. So I
Okay.
remember he told me like he bought a computer for $10,000 or something. Yeah, like, and $10,000 in the 80s is
Yeah.
insane. So
Yes.
we grew up with a computer. I remember inviting like kids and friends. I was like 2 years old. So like, yeah, and like I remember inviting kids in like the 90s to my house in the early 90s, and they didn't know what this was, this big box. And in our school, because I actually started in private school and then went to public school
Right.
later. But in our private school, we had computer class, and I was one of the fastest typers, and probably because of that also.
Right. You were looking at it from forever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Were you allowed to go on it, or your parents were like, "Don't touch it," and whatever, like, be careful, or they were like, "Okay, here it is, play with it, use it, like, be curious or something." Were your parents one or the other?
Yeah, you know what? That's actually you're making me think like I'm gonna ask my dad tonight. Why did we have a computer at home? Because we had it for everyone. It was just like a family computer. My dad didn't bring home his work.
Okay,
He would stay in the office late and come home late. But when he came home, he
it
wasn't
was there.
yeah, we weren't using the computer for work. I remember having AOL and dial up and
Wait,
yeah, 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 pretty much. And me and my brother, he was older, so he's 2 years older than I am, and we would fight for computer time. And we used to do like Oregon Trail and all of these other games on the computer. We also had Nintendo at the time. I think we also had Atari,
oh
but
yeah,
at that point it was like old for us. But we had it in the house. But yeah, we would fight over the computer, and we would get yelled at every single month about like $1,000 phone bill, and like we don't know what the hell that means. Like
just playing. Okay, so when you were in high school, did you belong to any clubs? What kind of extracurricular activities you do? Were you a sports guy? Were you more of like the math club, or you were something like in between? What kind of stuff were you doing in high school?
Yeah, so we were all in a private school. I was the only one who went to a public school. I didn't go to public school because of the financial reasons. I went for other reasons. But in our private school, we would leave the house at like 7 a.m. on the bus, jump on the bus at like 7 a.m., and we wouldn't get home until like 5 p.m.
Okay,
So,
that's a
and that
full
was,
day.
yeah, that's school. That's like learning nonstop, nonstop,
Oh my
nonstop.
god.
Yeah, yeah. You have one gym class aside from that, and one lunch, and you had like two 15-minute breaks. But aside from that, you're in school all day long. So we didn't really do so much extracurricular activities. I think just because at the time, but then also I don't remember before we lost the money. I don't remember what we were doing. I knew we did a lot of stuff, but like I can't remember if we had any extracurricular activities. But after we couldn't afford it.
Right, right.
Like when we were teenagers, like anything that we could have done, we weren't doing.
Okay, because like of the restrictions money wise. So how do you resorted to use your free time when you weren't in school, or what kind of stuff were you interested in other than like
Yeah. Yeah, I was very hands-on. So my dad is a very hands-on guy. He loves tech. We used to do stuff around the house, like
okay.
anytime we'd have to fix something. So like, I was this little kid doing electrical work and plumbing and like, yeah, and like crazy stuff in my teens. My dad also had a sailboat It was a 40-foot sailboat. Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah,
That is so funny. I remember my dad used to make me wash his car. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know, I guess I was in middle school or something, but he would give me money. So
What would he give you? $5? Like, what would you get?
I don't remember, man. It was so long ago, and it would be like $1 today or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
You learn the hard work pays off. Like that's
Yes.
the basic stuff. Like hard work pays off, and that's that's all we were taught. At least, like remember, I'm an '80s, '90s, '80s child, '90s youth, kind of.
I remember at such a young age, my cousin calling me and telling me about MSN and Netscape and like yeah, and I remember this guy was telling me like download this program and go to the www and it has to have www and HTTP. Like I remember that phone conversation. I was in my parents' room, but I remember specifically like being a teen and I was on. I don't know if you remember any of these things, but I loved the game Tribes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a role playing game, sort of.
Like The Sims.
No, also Sims. Sims was great, but this
That's a
was
very 2000s game.
yeah, very 2000s game. We Tribes was like what's it called? What are those shooting games today with like uh
Halo.
yeah, like all those. Exactly.
Okay.
It was exactly like a Halo. So I would be on that for hours a day. That was multiplayer. You'd play with like 100 people, 50 people in
Right.
like and you try to kill them and you had two teams. I was
Right.
doing that. Worlds Away. I don't know if you remember Worlds Away.
Not really. I was never much of a gamer though.
Okay, so Worlds Away was more like a virtual. You'd go to a virtual world and you'd choose a body. You'd choose this multiplayer again.
Oh, okay. It's like the Roblox today. I don't know. Like I have a middle schooler in my house. Like she's 14, and back when she was like in elementary, she was very much into like Roblox, and you create worlds and stuff like Roblox, Minecraft, stuff like that.
So
But
this
that's like the
maybe
newer ones, you
yeah.
know.
I don't know. And like you'd have like money and you'd make money. You'd
Yes, and then you buy dresses, you buy this, you
yeah you'd
buy
buy
a
stuff.
bunch of stuff with whatever you make. Yes, even Nintendo Switch had a version like I think it was called Animal Crossings or something like that, and they have like all these things that you make money and sell things, buy things and stuff. But yeah, I saw my daughters playing that. I was never much of a gamer. I kind of like no, I don't have patience for that. Like no, I like real money though.
Same, same. Yeah.
Okay,
What else?
so
Yeah. Chat
you
rooms. Yeah.
are playing like every other teenager, doing your games and all that stuff, learning plumbing, learning like skills, like practical skills that I don't think many kids your age would have been learning. When you get into your last year of high school, what's going on in your head? Like, high school is that year when everybody starts thinking, what am I going to do next? What is it that I'm going to do? I'm going to go where? I want to leave my parents' house. I want to live my life or whatever. Like, I'm Colombian. So, Hispanics, and I grew up in Colombia. I went to college there. When you're in Colombia, leaving your parents' house is not a thing until you, especially if you're a woman, you don't get out of your house until you're married.
Yeah.
So when you get to high school, when I was in high school, the thinking was like, what is it that I'm going to pursue? So what was going on in your head in your last year of high school?
Yeah, so I actually loved always like making things. Like growing up, I remember building things, whatever necessity is the mother of invention. If I needed something, I made it. And so I always thought and like my dad had come from like owning a family business, then having another family business and like I always had that mindset that when I'm going to and I knew I would go to college. That was another thing. So I always had the mindset of go to college, get out of college, and in your mid 20s, be a business owner. That was
Okay.
always in my head at an early age.
Right.
Now, when I went to college, when I was in high school, the biggest issue coming from the schools that I went to, the private school, I went to private school until I was in, I think, 11th grade. They were not very good at like telling you like go to college and helping you go to college, like
Oh,
helping you
okay.
decide.
All
A
right.
guidance counselor. They had a guidance counselor, but the guy was like 100 years old, and yeah, and he only helped the kids who were the top like 5% of
Right.
intelligence.
The one that he was sure that they were gonna apply whatever and they were gonna pass, and they didn't have to put too much effort into it.
It was more like they wanted to be known for going to Harvard and Yale,
Right.
and so
Yes.
they only guided those students. And so you had like it wasn't a big school. We were about 250 in my grade.
Hmm.
I mean, I would probably say it was like 15% of people, maybe not even 15% of people were utilizing the guidance counselor. And he would go looking for them and telling them, hey, come meet with me and let's talk about the colleges you want to go to. But for everyone else, you have like 230 students who we're not being asked anything. So I don't know about my friends, but for me, I always knew I wanted to go to college. I just didn't know how it worked. I didn't know you
Right.
had to apply to school. And so when I went to the public school, that's when I first realized, you start
Right.
school in
Because
September.
public school is like
Yeah,
in your
they
at. Yeah.
they know what they're doing. So they're like, all right, so what school did you decide on with your previous guidance counselor? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So like, yeah, and I didn't even know that like it's so ignorant, I guess, but I didn't know that you had to apply to school and you had to spend hours on an application.
Yes.
Yeah. I
I
had
just did that last year with my daughter, like essays, applications, and all this craziness. It's a lot.
it's a lot. You like for where I came from, you just assume that you fill out an application that's like, what's your name? Where do you live? Do you love the school? Like, what's your GPA? And the work that you put in for years before is kind of what helps you get into the college.
Right.
But that's not the case. You have to write an essay that takes you hours or days to do. And each essay is specific to that college. You can't even
Yes.
you, you
You
can't
can make
copy
a
and
blanket
paste.
one.
Yeah. So a lot of like the first 3 months of high school and senior year in high school, I'm like freaking out because
Yeah.
I just moved to a new school, so I have to make new friends. I have to make new friends. I have to get used to like because everything's so different in a public school than a
Right.
private school. I was also my curriculum was much smarter in my private school than public school. Like we were a lot more advanced than public school.
Right.
So that was actually a little helpful because I was not needing to study or do as much homework, so to say,
Right.
because I was much more
Right. You
advanced.
were ahead. You didn't need to invest so much time into the classes themselves, and then you invested that time. Again, you went with your priorities and you said, my attention should be here because I already got this. Now I have to get this.
Yeah, they actually wanted to put me in like AP classes when I moved to the new high school. I had no idea what that meant. For me, like if I understood that, hey, by taking these classes this year, you could maybe graduate college a year earlier, or you
Yeah.
could save 50 or $100,000 in when you're in college. If
Yes.
if I knew that, I would have, of course, done that.
But the trick is at that point, you were already in 12th grade. So,
Yes, AP classes.
the thing is like by the time you're in 12th grade, the AP classes are worth it if you've been doing them since ninth grade. That's when they save you like a bunch of time. Because my daughter just graduated last year from high school, and she took a bunch of AP classes that put her in advance. She's going double majoring in physics and mechanical
Wow.
engineering, and she took like some calc and some physics and some stuff that have put her ahead. Even like the English classes have put her ahead a little bit in some of the stuff. So it is worth it while you're start like from ninth grade. But if you're in 12th grade, it's just not a big deal anymore. But yeah, they do save money. One of my nieces graduated like a year ahead because of the AP classes she
Yeah.
took in high school. So it was great.
Here at Ardan Labs, we believe in empowering companies to reach their full potential through innovative technology solutions. Trusted by small startups and Fortune 500 companies alike, we specialize in high-performance software consulting, training, staffing, development, and now AI. With over 14 years of experience, Ardan Labs has trained over 30,000 engineers and served over 1,000 companies worldwide. Whether you're mastering Go, Rust, Kubernetes, Terraform, or blockchain, we're your strategic partner for performance-grade solutions. Let's elevate your tech journey together. Reach out to Ardan Labs today.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not something you think of when you're a little kid. You don't even know what that means.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like, and you're a teenager, like, what do you know about money? Like, oh, do I have to pay for college? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like those are things
Also,
you're not in
also,
your radar.
you want to get out of school. You don't want to stay in school
Right.
as a
Like,
kid.
why am I doing this?
Like,
I'm setting up to get tortured again. That's what you're telling me? No, thank you.
yeah,
That's
I want to
what.
be home playing Age of Empires.
Oh my God. Let me ask you this. So you were in your head was like, okay, I'm going to college. But what were you thinking? Which area were you trying to get your setup, like to do all the things that you had in your head to do? Like what area? Like
You're asking like
what
what?
degree? What
Yeah, what
degree were
degree?
you trying? Yeah.
So in my mind, I always wanted to go to a college in Boston. I don't know why, and I missed the boat there. It didn't end up working out because of because I was ignorant. I didn't know. I didn't know
Right.
that
You had to hustle.
yeah, and I was very I was always a last minute person growing up,
Okay.
not because I just didn't want to deal with it till I needed to, not because I forgot about it. It was just like, I have 2 days left. I know that it should take about a day and a half. I'll do it a day and a half before, or 2 days before.
Right.
But with the application specifically for college, I never knew that. So I ended up missing a lot of deadlines for filling out
Okay.
applications. And even the new guidance counselor never really explained that part enough.
Right.
They were great for other things, but not that was the one thing they didn't really.
Right. Like many of the schools today, they start grinding on the college thing since like 11th grade and sometimes even 10th grade. They start like my daughter's school, the ones that they're in, is a public school. It's a magnet school. But they start talking about SATs
Yeah.
and all those stuff since the 8th grade. My daughter, which is now in 8th grade, I think she took at the beginning of the school year, she took a practice SAT
How'd she
to
do?
like she did good actually. She did better than she thought that she was gonna do because in her head, my middle schooler in her head, the smart one is her sister that went to college, but no, she hasn't realized that she's as smarter or maybe smarter than the other one, but she hasn't noticed yet. So let's see what happens with that. But she did good. She did good. But the thing is that the school starts like grinding on the idea of college since they are like ending middle school and they set them up to do all those things.
You asked me what degree. I didn't know. That was the problem. I didn't know. I knew that I wanted to start a business. I knew that I loved playing around with things and creating things. I knew that money was important. So the things that I kind of, when I would speak to people, right? The only way you know what to do is if somebody says you're good at this, you should do this. And my parents were very bad at that. Both of my parents. They never asked me so what college you're going to, or you should be doing this, focus on this in college. They never did that. They kind of dropped the ball in that case. But I spoke to my uncle was an engineer. And so I said, maybe I should be an engineer, because he told me all about engineering, and I was like, that's really cool. I like that, and I like numbers,
Right. You were good at math and math was your favorite.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things. Another thing I thought of maybe having a major in economics,
Right.
because I love money and I love numbers. And like, I understand the idea of like supply and demand and all that kind of stuff. But when I went to college, I hated economics courses, hated them. So I ended up going into business because I was applying to Cooper Union, and I got into Cooper Union, but I don't know if you know that school. It's in New York. It's
It's in New
super
York?
small.
Okay.
They have like, I think it's like at the time, I don't know how much it is now. I think it was like 800 or 900 students in the whole
Wow.
college. Yeah. And it
Wow.
was a really, really, really good engineering school. And I didn't go, I didn't accept going there in the end because right before somebody had told me like, you're not going to actually use engineering. I got an engineering degree. I didn't end up using it. It's a lot of work, and you're going to end up like killing yourself in college for something you're not going to use. And like, again, I didn't have guidance. So like the guidance that I had was just like these people who were telling me, do this, don't do
Right.
this. And I'm like, okay, but they didn't know me well enough to really
Right.
guide me. So in the end, I was business management and finance.
Okay. And so where did you end up going to college?
Went to, oh my God, it's such a horrible thing to say. Should I tell you the story how I ended up there?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're here for. I want to hear it now.
But it makes me sound like such an asshole. Excuse my language. But so I went to Rutgers Business School, and the way the business school works is you have to go to Rutgers for 2 years, a year and a half, and then you have to apply to the business school.
Okay.
All right. So now, how did I end up in Rutgers? I was in not chemistry. I was in maybe physics. I was in physics. I was in a physics class in high school, and I had these. It was one of my favorite classes. The teacher was incredible. I loved him. And there were two kids in my class behind me who were talking about like college, and they were saying how they applied to college, and they were talking about like, and this one person, I forgot who it was, he said, I applied to Rutgers about 3 weeks ago. I still haven't heard back from them. And like the guy was like freaking out. And like I would hear about this every day. And like so then when he said he hadn't heard in 3 weeks from them, I went home that night and I applied to Rutgers University. And the next day,
Oh my God.
and the next day I get an email saying you got approved, you got in or whatever. so
Oh my God.
yeah, so when I went to class the next day, they're having the conversation again, and like I turn around and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And again, like I was this annoying kid at home who like used to tease people, and this guy tells me, oh, yeah, I applied to Rutgers and about 3.5 weeks ago, and I haven't heard back from them. I'm like, that's crazy. I got in, I got accepted. And he's like, what, when did you apply? I'm like, yesterday. And like, that's how I ended up getting into Rutgers. And I
Oh
ended up
my God.
actually, yeah, I was an asshole. I wasn't an asshole. I like getting under people's skin. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
I see that.
Like, I wasn't like a vicious person. I was actually like such a
Right.
nice person.
Were competitive. That's the word.
I wasn't competitive. I don't think I was competitive. I felt I would get everything that I was supposed to deserve, like I would deserve, because I knew I was hardworking. I was never a competitive person. Like I hated competitive people in my school. Yeah. So I was never a competitive person, but I like challenges.
Okay.
Right.
I see that.
And so
Yeah, you're a business maker. You're like
yes.
maker things. So yes, you like the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to Rutgers, right? And then you started in what there? In economics, and then you ended up business major.
I didn't select a major when I first went.
Okay.
As far as I remember. And maybe I did, but I don't think I did. I think the way it worked in because I knew I was going to the business school. So the way it worked was you just need to take a certain amount of credits for
Right.
2 years, and then you need to get into the
And then you
business
declare
school.
your major.
Right. And you need to take specific courses. So you needed to
Right.
take macroeconomics, microeconomics, and all these other classes also, statistics. And once you take all those, then you
Into the business school.
could apply.
Okay. And they have the right to tell you yes or no.
I think it was about 400 students a year that they would accept.
Okay.
Yeah, so but there were about 40,000 students, if I'm not mistaken, in Rutgers. So they took a really, really small amount of kids.
Okay. And then did you live there? Were you at home or travel there, or were you at the college? And what
Yeah.
did you do? What were you doing? Were you making businesses or stuff when you were over there already? Or
No.
making things?
No, I took college as like a complete, again, like it sounds like I sound like a spoiled kid, but like I took it as like, this is the only time in my life I'm going to enjoy myself. After that, I'm working my ass off for the next 100 years of my life. So that was kind of college for me. I was taking these courses I didn't like. I wasn't liking any of the courses I was taking, but I had to take them.
Right, because you were eye on the ball.
I had the eye on the ball. I wasn't a great student. I don't know. I mean, like I wasn't a great student. I also came from, so there's something they didn't teach me in high school or elementary school, was like they kind of spoon fed everything to you. You know, the teachers would say, okay, guys, next Tuesday we're gonna have an exam, and that didn't happen in college.
Right. The transition from school to college is like it's a rude awakening.
Yeah, but
Like
nobody tells you anything.
You're being very babied, and then you're just strode into the Coliseum.
Yeah, and they give you a syllabus, and you're like, okay, what's this piece of paper? Like, you throw it in the folder, you know? Like,
Oh my god. Which color folder should I put it on?
yeah, and like it's exactly like you're saying. They just like throw you into the lion's den. And I remember the first time I went to class and I had an exam, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like,
I
did you
didn't
know
know.
we had? Yeah, did you know? Yeah, I knew. Did you
It
know?
was
How
in the
did you know?
syllabus.
It was in the syllabus. And I'm like, what the hell's the syllabus?
That paper.
Yeah. And like it would have been nice if like the teachers also said like, hey, this is like the calendar for the whole year. Like follow this because I'm never reminding you. You know, you need to set your own deadlines. You need to be structured. And like I wish 1,000 times that like we were told that.
So let me ask you this. So this was your beginnings in college. How was it when you were about to graduate college? Like what happened there? Like you must have gone through like a substantial change,
Growth.
I guess. Yes, like growth, because you went from like what is the syllabus to where? Like when you got at the end, what was going on in your head?
Yeah, and I still wasn't so great at it. You know, like you kind of learn to use a calendar and put everything in a calendar, and like you have to keep a calendar on your wall. But I wasn't so great like at checking. And it's something like after when I got into business, when I started actually working, that's when you like really use it.
Right.
But what was it like? I guess I'll tell you the truth. I still sucked. I mean, I graduated college by like a whim.
Lord.
Yeah, because there were things again like I just didn't know, and nobody was telling me, and like I didn't know in Rutgers, or maybe it was Rutgers Business School specifically. I didn't know that you had to have a major and a minor.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think it was specific to the business school, but I didn't know that.
So when did you take a minor in the last minute?
So I'm a senior in college, and I'm like, I went to it was, I think like 2 months before I'm supposed to graduate. And that's when you check in and you make sure everything is going well. Like they should be doing that a year before. And she's like, so what's your minor? I'm like, what minor?
What's that mean?
Yeah, what's a minor? I had no idea what a minor was. Like I had a major. And I was like, I have a major. She's like, yeah, I see your major, but what's your minor? I'm like, I don't know. Do I need a minor? She's like, yes, you need a minor to graduate. Otherwise, you have to be here another semester or another year. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, excuse my language, but I'm like, well, what do I do? It's like, you got to go get a minor. And we sat down and we looked at like what I've already taken and how could I get the quickest minor, whatever it is. How could I get to graduate as soon as
Right.
possible? And I had studied abroad in Italy, and so I had a lot of like Italian courses, and she said you should choose Italian studies as your minor. You're still going to have to take more classes because these classes, let's say I took 12 classes, only like 3 of them count. Like
Right.
they don't count. So yeah, I actually had a crazy, and this is the first time I think I started like, not the first time, but it was where I started negotiating. So I went to the dean of Italian studies and I asked her to make an exception for me to count my
Semester abroad and stuff.
yeah, exactly, to count them as towards my minor. And we went
Did
back
she?
and forth. No, she said no. And we went back and forth, and this is where the negotiating began, and she ended up approving me. She ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to make this exception. I don't think I'm allowed to tell anybody, but 20 years later, I think I'm allowed to say anything I want. But yeah, so she
So
kind of
you,
approved it.
and then you got your minor in Italian studies and your business major. And then what happened when you had those two papers in your hand? And then you said, okay, now what? What was your next step?
I had no idea. Again, I had no guidance. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
So were you going to look for a job, or you said, okay, I'm gonna start a business? What was your like mindset? Even though you were like blind to the whole thing, like you
Yeah.
were saying, like, what should I do? Look for a job, make a business. What was your go to?
So in the business school, we had somebody who would come to you or email you. I don't remember what it was, but like they recommended maybe that you would speak to the like a guidance counselor for work. I forgot what they
Like a
called it.
career advisor.
Yes, a career advisor, exactly. And so I would go to her and she would ask me, like, she would tell me you should start applying to jobs. And I'm like, from now? It's like a year away. I'm still not graduating. This was like even when I
What if
was
I
in a
get it?
junior. Yeah. And so I started applying to, I loved like Unilever and those kind of brands. Like all
Okay.
these major brands, I loved it because I thought like, hey, you know what? Like I could come up with, they have the money, right? So you're going to get a good salary. They have the money, so if you come up with a good idea, you could create like a new version
Line of,
of, yeah, a new
yes,
line,
line of
exactly.
business. Yes.
And I really just like loved what a lot of them stood for at the time. This is 20 years ago. Um, and so I applied to a lot of these jobs, and I had my CV at the time, my resume at the time. I had worked every single year since I was like 12 or 13 years old. So I had a big resume, but and I was getting interviews, but I was not getting one. I got rejected from every single company, everybody. And I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what was happening. There was one company that I moved farther along. It was Hess. I don't know if you remember Hess. They were a
Yes.
gas station company.
Yes.
So they had something where like you would manage a bunch of different gas stations, like a regional manager.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. I loved it. And I I liked it because of the challenge. Like
Right.
I felt like you were making a lot less money than the other companies, but you had a lot of potential to grow, and
Okay.
you were also taking a lot on early on.
So you weren't getting these jobs. And then what was your first breakthrough in a way?
I was lost. I honestly, I was so lost. I had nothing to do. I didn't know what I was getting denied rejected from every time I had an interview. But then after the interview, they would deny me,
There was like,
right? They would
thank
reject
you
me.
for applying. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like I had experience, and I would tell them
Right.
all about myself. Like, why wouldn't I get it? Like, no offense to other people, but I was much more experienced, qualified that I thought. And I still today
Did
believe that
you
I was.
get any like feedback as of why?
No, I'm going to tell you this. I think I may come off as an arrogant person, you
Okay.
know? I think the way I mean, I have a lot of friends who always tell me that before they even meet me, just seeing my face, I just look like an arrogant person, you know? So
Boy.
I would guess that that's what it is. I'm very humble and like, obviously, this is a podcast. It's a little different for
Well,
us.
this is a podcast about you, so yes,
Yeah.
you're talking about you. It's all good.
But in general, like I'm a humble person. I come from like, whatever. But I don't know. So I
So
was lost. I was lost. So how did
and
I get
then
my first
and
job, right?
yes, how did you get out of that funk? Because it is really frustrating and depressing a bit to like be applying for the job, feeling that you're ready, this is my turn, this is my chance, I'm good for it, and not getting it. And that must have been a weight on your shoulders. How did you get out of that? Is it was because you got a job? Is it because you decided to do something else?
Yeah. So I got a job. I had expected my parents to help me get a job. I know that sounds weird, but like I had expected more like guidance from them telling me like, hey, maybe I know this guy. Like they had a big network. You know, my parents had a
Right,
big network, right? They came from a wealthy community. So
right.
they knew a lot of people. And I was always expecting like, hey, since we no longer have a family business,
Ah, you know the people.
you know other people that have
Right.
businesses that like make
Give me a leg up.
tens. Yeah, give me a leg up. So that's what I kind of had expected, but I got nothing. And I also expected my uncles, they were living in Brazil. They were wealthy people that had a business. I also thought that they would have offered me a job, that they would have
Mm.
said like, hey, come work with us, because I was extremely like a very capable person, very like advanced in tech. So, you know, everything I was doing on the computer, I was doing formulas on Excel when I was like 14 years old. No one else was doing that, you know? So I had expected something a little more from that. And my parents, we had something in our community. It was like a job search
Okay.
and specific for like companies in our community looking to hire people. And so I looked in there. That's where my parents told me to go, which again, I wasn't happy with that. And like, and the salary kind of stunk also. Like it was like, I have a college degree. I should be getting paid a college degree level.
Right.
And and my first job out of college, I ended up working for a clothing company. A
Oh.
clothing company in their like headquarters. They used to do between like 50 and $100 million a year in selling clothing to like low end clothing to like Target, Sears,
Okay.
Walmart, Burlington,
All right. Was it
those
in New
kind of.
York?
It was in New York City,
Okay.
and I didn't make enough money for rent.
Oh no, it was New York.
Yeah, but like my brother actually he subsidized my rent. he uh,
Okay.
he didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell my parents, and he was working at a bank at the time, and he subsidized my rent. So like,
Wow.
yeah, it was
That
it
was
was
awesome.
yeah. I think I paid half. He paid half.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't think our parents ever knew, but I'm super
We'll
thankful for
show
him
them the
for that.
podcast.
Yes.
So you got your first job at your clothing company. How long you stay in that job?
About 3 years,
Okay.
and my position there was merchandising. So I would
Okay.
like design
The
the.
windows and the stuff like that,
No,
and
no, no. We
how
we
they
weren't.
displayed.
No, we were a manufacturer. So
Yes.
I
Yeah,
would
that's
design
true.
the clothing line. So we would have, let's say, like 400 styles that we would do every every year or season. I don't remember, but so I would choose the styles that I wanted the company to sell and to make. Yeah. And so obviously like that didn't come right away, but it was within like 6 months that I just kept growing and growing,
Got
that
it.
the CEO of the company was like, okay, you're going to work right under me. Yeah, he loved me. He was amazing. He taught me a lot. And so I was like his right-hand man, and he was teaching me everything about the business.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you stayed there 3 years. After 3 years, what happened that you made a move?
My brother was working at the bank, and he was in corporate lending and the corporate side. And he would work with mid and high revenue companies.
Okay.
And so he would look at their books and he would look at everything. And he would see everything from like salaries to profits. And he came to me and he's like, I don't want to work in the bank anymore. I don't want to make this salary anymore. I want to make a lot of money. And he's like, I want to start a business. Do you want to start a business with me? And
Yes.
that, yes. And that was the first business we started together.
Wait, do you still work with your brother?
No, no, that was the first and only business together.
Okay. So, what was your first business together?
We had a touchscreen glove company.
Touchscreen? Okay.
In the winter, your regular gloves won't work with a cell phone. And so we made gloves that would work on your cell phone that didn't have just a fingertip. The whole thing looked like a regular glove and would work.
Wow. It wasn't the one that has the little thing, it was the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you started that business with your brother. How did it go?
It went well for a couple of years. But me and my brother, in business, we have a lot of like clashing personality for business. So we would have a lot of fights and arguments, and it wasn't healthy for us. And we
Okay.
decided to sell the business, and we decided to end up going our own way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, did you guys make that decision to like save the relationship and said like this is not good for us and then you just parted ways? Or was it like a bad breakup?
It was a bad breakup. And you're the first time I'm saying this publicly, but it was a bad breakup. We were growing. We were growing, but also we were having like other issues in other places. And he came from a banking world and I came from a manufacturing and selling world.
Right.
So, I always felt because he was the older brother, I kind of respected and allowed him to make the
Right.
decisions, but I didn't agree with a lot of the decisions because my experiences tell me we should not be doing this or we should be doing this,
Okay.
The business was not growing the way we wanted to. It was growing, just not the way we wanted to. And there was a lot of like blame going back from me and him.
I see.
And our relationship was suffering a lot. And we decided like, we can't work together anymore. It's not working. So we decided to sell the business, and it took like probably say like a year or 2 years maybe to like get back to where we were from when we started the business.
Relationship wise. Okay. And this was back in which year was this?
I don't know. 2000, and I would probably say we stopped in 2015 or around that time.
Okay. 2015. So in 2015, you have a business sold, your first business owner experience. So
Yes.
you sold this business, you have your money. What were you thinking right there? Like, okay, I'm going to start another business. I'm going to find a job. What you were back to where you were when you graduated business school. So what did you do?
Yeah, but very different, by the way.
You have money now.
Yeah, now you have money and experience.
Right.
Right. And so before I went with my brother, I quit the other job in the clothing company.
Right.
And I actually got poached by a few different clothing companies that wanted to hire me and start new divisions and run, or maybe even run divisions that they already had. And so the opportunity was like, it was great because I could have made millions of dollars without putting up my own money.
Right.
But I didn't end up taking any of them because at that point, my brother also quit his job.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so I couldn't leave him. So
right.
I ended up doing that. So now, after we sell the business, we stop doing the gloves. He wanted to do something like that. He wanted to work for a company, open a division, and have a small percentage as a stakeholder. And I never really, even to today, I don't talk about business with my brother. It's I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know what how much he makes. I don't want to know like how much of
Wow.
a percentage he owns. I don't care. Like I feel like that's because
Man,
we
the
came from,
opinions are so different.
yeah, but also we came from the same place, and I don't want to compete with my brother in any way.
Right, right. That makes
You know what I
sense.
mean? I don't
Yes.
want to send any negative energy if he may be making more money than me. I don't want to
Right,
send
right.
negative energy towards him.
Yes.
For me, I still wanted to be an entrepreneur, and so I wanted to start another business. And I started putting together a business plan for another business, and I started reaching out to investors, and investors loved the business idea, but they almost all said the same thing. I want you to put some money of your own first, and
Right.
get it working a little, and then I'll put money in after.
Okay.
But
Like
I didn't
you
want that.
risk it.
Yeah, but I didn't want that. Like I wanted to do all the work, and but also have somebody as a silent partner in the beginning. You know.
Right, right, right.
And so I was still pitching people when I got poached by a few other companies, and at the same time my mother was like calling me nonstop and saying, "You have to go get a job. You have to go get a job. You have to start working." And I'm like I'm figuring out my shit. Like leave me alone.
Hold your horses.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Hold your horses. I know what I'm doing.
And so just to quiet her down, I ended up going to those interviews. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and
The
I
power
ended
of
up
the mom.
the
Look
power of
at
the mom,
that.
but I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with it.
No kid is happy, but the power of the mom still.
It was too much, it was too much. But yeah, so I start. This guy has a electric mobility company, which was selling one electric bicycle adult and one electric bicycle child product, and he hired me, and the hire was supposed to be with me and him as partners, but my partnership would grow over time, and not
Okay.
specifically over time, but the way we had laid it out was how the business would grow. So
Okay.
as the business grows, Oscar grows in his partnership.
Right.
And at the time he was doing before me about $500,000 in sales, and he was losing money every year. But his investors kept putting in more money and more money and more money. And so my at the time I was doing sales and product development,
Okay.
and so that's what I came in to do for him. He hired me for manufacturing. So
Okay.
for
Yeah, you
product
have your
development,
background in manufacturing, so you
exactly.
went in it.
So he went from having 2 products to the end of the year we had about 54 products.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
and
well, let me ask you something about that. So, you were designing these products, you were doing the research and coming up with like what kind of products are we gonna have, and like designing the actual product and making like the prototypes and how would it work and all that, and the tech behind it and all that. You were doing all that.
more or less, it's a little less than that,
Okay.
because what we were doing specifically, we were more like white labeling product
Okay.
for the most part. If there was something specific that I wanted that a factory didn't have, we would make it.
Okay.
But for the most part, like I was going to trade shows, looking for factories and trying to find products that they had, see if they could make other products. If they didn't see if they would make it for us. And I was working with tens and tens of different factories to try to get
Okay.
different products. So ended up bringing 54 products that first year, and we went from, this guy was doing $500,000 a year for like 6 years at the time, and we ended up doing $13 million that first year.
Wow. This was what, 2017 or something?
2016, I think it was.
2016. Okay.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
So you stayed there for how long?
I left in either 2019 or 2020.
Why?
2019, I think. Why did I leave?
You were doing great.
We were doing great. The business at that time when I left was doing $43 million a year, so it was a successful business. But my partner was very dishonest, and yeah, and so he was dishonest, and there were factories he wasn't paying. There were people he was like not paying, like employees, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, no.
And also, in the beginning, we were like a small team, but we were like a team
Right.
that kind of like integrated, and like it was such a beautiful synergy. But as the company was growing, he was making very bad hires. And yeah, and the energy in the office was
It
starting to get
shifted.
like rotten, you know?
I see. Yes, you have to have the right people around to get that energy going and like the same, everybody looking at the same point.
Yeah, and then he like I found that he was lying to me about certain things, and I said this is not the right place for me to be anymore. You know, my it's expired. You know,
Right. So you
like sour
parted
milk.
ways.
Yeah,
Yes, sour milk. Anyhow, so
yeah.
you parted
By the
ways.
way, again, this is something I don't publicly say, and it's you're getting all of it.
Oops.
You're asking the questions, you're getting the answers. I'm a transparent person.
There you go. What can I say? Now, you leave this company. They were doing great. It wasn't a great environment anymore. It turned a little bit of toxic environment, lies, dishonesty, and you decide to leave. Once you left, what did you ask yourself? Like you were like, okay, now what?
Yeah. Now what? Now what? Right? I'm 30 something. I'm 32, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. I'm between 30 and 33 years old. I don't remember the age. But now I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my god, what am I going to do now?" You know? I made some good money, but I I I realized again I don't want to work for anybody. You know? I loved working for like this guy technically I was his employee. You know, it was a
Right.
startup, but like even if you had small shares, it's not your company. You know,
Right.
you're an employee.
You
You know,
still, yeah.
I had carte blanche at that place, so I could come and go, travel wherever I wanted to, see whoever I wanted to. I stopped doing product development, and there was somebody else who was doing it after like the second year. But I still had the ability. I mean, I was working with like Costco and major retailers that like I still had the ability that if I wanted to create product, I still I was still allowed to. And I did that a lot. You know, I went to, like, I made something special for Costco that we didn't have in our line, but I said, I want this. I reached out to the factory. I said, hey, could you make me this? And we made something special just for Costco, you know? So
And
I,
that was what made you, like, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just gonna guess. That was the part of your job at the time that made you the happiest to like go from the idea to all the way I have it right here in my hand and then I'm making it specially for you.
yeah, yeah, you hit it right on the nail. It's exactly right. And yeah, I love that. You know why? I make good product. And people really like my product, you know, so I know when I'm putting product out there, people they're people work hard for money, you know. I know that. I have that experience, I have that background, so I know if I'm spending $200 or $1,000 on a product, I want it to be worth that price,
Right.
you know. I don't.
Yes.
And so that's something that like means a lot to me. Like I know, like if I'm putting product out there, I'm putting my stamp of approval on it. It has to be great. I want to buy it and say this is great. Whether I need it or not is a different story, right? But I want it to be great. And so yeah, you hit that right on the nail.
So I'm guessing that we're getting at the point where you came out with the smart safe idea. Am
No,
I getting closer?
Closer, but not yet. It took many months to get there.
Okay.
But that was, by the way, that was another thing that had happened. I sold Media Mart. You know Media Mart in Europe?
No.
They're like a Best Buy there.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So I sold Media Mart a product, and let's say on the box and on the spec sheets, we were saying like it has 20 miles of range. We were only, the customers were returning the product and they were only getting like 5 miles of range. And so again, this goes back to like the dishonesty. And I wasn't dealing with manufacturing anymore at that point. But I
Right.
was still saying like, I'm not testing anymore because I was focused on sales. Like I'm
Right.
saying, hey, this is an RFQ, this is what I want to make, even if I tell the factory, and then I'd hand it off to like the production team.
Right.
And so I felt like, there were products, and I found it with other products also, I felt like we were deceiving customers. And this went back to
Okay.
like, I don't do that. I don't like that. It's against my ethics. I'm out. So that
Right.
was another reason. So it was one thing
Okay.
to like hurt like factories or the employees. The last was like the last straw.
Right. Okay. So we're about to run out of time. We still have like maybe 15 more minutes to go. So I want you to get me to the point that you left this company and then you were trying to figure out what you do next. Was your smart safe what you did next? Because this is about 2020, right?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
about 2020. So yeah, so after that, I'm trying to think of what to do, and I started looking at different industries, different businesses. I had about 12 different, between 12 and 20. I don't even remember anymore at this point, but I had between 12 and 20 different business ideas that I wanted to go into.
Wow.
Yeah, and that spans from like technology, electronics, down to food industry,
Wow.
What, yeah, so like I had a ton of different ideas that I wanted to do, and I would spend about like 6 weeks to 3 months on any business idea and see its viability. Like, would people pay for this? This is before ChatGPT, by the way. People today have it easy. But like, would people pay for this? Like run financials, see if it's a good
It was
business
also
model.
the pandemic year.
Yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So then yeah. So then it was half pandemic, half non-pandemic. So it was 2019, 2020. So I was trying to figure out what to do, and then we had I think I said it earlier on the podcast. Did I say
Something
about the
happened in your family? You
Yes.
you told me that.
So
What
yes.
happened?
So we had a theft. We had a theft.
Ah,
And they stole jewelry and needed to get a safe, and that's when it kind of clicked. I'm like, this is a market that hasn't been tapped into yet, and it's still 20 years old, and I think I could do this. I think this is my calling. I feel like this is my calling, where I have a tech background now, I have a sales background, I have product development background, and I'm going to start something that doesn't already exist. And that's something that brought me a lot of like excitement, which
right.
you hit it before.
Right. It's like the inspiration comes and like the whole creation process is like you're engineering in a way.
Yes, I'm engineering without an engineering
I
degree.
know. Listen, I went through the whole pain. I have an industrial engineering degree. I know the pain. And I see you doing it, and like you learn every skill around it without suffering the time in college.
Yeah, but I suffered in other ways. I suffered the
No,
costs.
you gain your stripes with pain and suffering fees.
Yeah,
I'm not debating that. So you gotten the idea, like I am gonna do this. These safes are very old. What can I do? So how did you start that
yeah.
creation process of the what the safe is?
Yeah, so I started for about 2 weeks. I was looking from 2 to 4 weeks. I was looking at different safes online. I was trying to look at the what's available now, you know, and I wanted to say, see what's available. And then I kind of mapped out like, what would Oscar like to have as a customer? What would he want in 2020? What kind of safe would he want to buy that he would spend whatever money he was going to spend on this safe and say, this is awesome. Why didn't somebody else think of it? Because that's what I had with like the other industries that I was in. Like people would come to me and said, wow, I wish I thought of that. And like, I love that. And so I kind of put together a list of, hey, these are the features that this safe needs. And as I was adding features, I was saying like, my brain was thinking as you're writing down and you're trying to like put together on a piece of paper like what you want and what would be amazing, your brain kind of like does the rest of the work for you. And I would add like, okay, yeah, touch screen. Let's add a touch screen. Why not? Like I had a Tesla at the time. I said everything should have a touch screen like this. Why not add it on a safe?
Right.
Okay, so it's going to add a little more money. Okay, cool. But then like after adding a touch screen, you're like, whoa, I could add a bunch of different sensors because now I'm going to have a whole operating system. And that's where hardware and software start to come together also, where almost every single safe company is just hardware. No one has any software.
Right. Nobody has that software. So
But that's,
what kind of, in terms of software, what kind of stuff were you putting in it?
so I didn't know. That's not
Okay.
my background at the time. It wasn't now I understand
So
everything. But
so you started asking questions.
yes, started asking questions. I wasn't a technical person. I didn't know even that I had to make a PCBA. I didn't, I thought like I thought things are just ready in the market and you say like, okay, we're taking this and this and
Give
this.
me one of those
Let's
and
buy
one of
it.
those. Let's put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Cause like, that's kind of like before that was the life I lived,
Right.
And so you're asking me about software specifically. The entire software had to be developed from scratch.
Right.
And again, it's not like none of this existed already. So there's no factory that's making this. There's nowhere to go. And so I had to learn the hard way, everything, all of it from okay, you need to find a mechanical engineer. You need to find a software engineer. Like you have to find all these different engineers. And again, back then when I came up with the idea, you think it's just like one or two. No,
Right. No, it's a whole team.
it's a whole team. Yeah, it's a whole team. And so
yes, because that's the thing about engineers. They specialize, and whoever is going to draw it is not going to build it.
Yes. Yeah. And exactly. And then also once you start adding, like we have different sensors, like we have a push button switch, so the electrical engineer is adding that in. Now the mechanical engineer has to say like, oh, wow, I made this whole design. Now we have to change it again because we have to add this switch. And the mechanical engineer is not thinking like, hey, the switch is made so that the door is closed. He doesn't think that far ahead.
Right.
So you have a lot of like checks and balances that you need to be doing because a lot of these engineers are not thinking that, like, hey, one guy designs this because you told him we need to have this, but the other engineer is not like knowing that is part of the requirements.
Right.
And he needs to take that also into consideration.
And then the software engineer comes in and says, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, the software engineer is the easiest, by the way. They're the easiest.
Really?
Because software could always be updated if you have OTA.
Right.
Right? The hardware, once it's developed, it's developed.
Oh, yes.
You could spend a year and a half making a PCBA for the first time, but if they miss things, if you go to mass production with that thing, that's it. It's in the market already. And so like software kind of has to say, hey, we're missing this sensor, but we're going to use logic to kind of make a software version of a sensor,
Right.
So the software is always the easiest. Tell me.
So how long? Well, like I would find a bunch of people that would differ, but I'm gonna ask you this: how long did it take to have in your hands the first safe, SpaceSafe?
Yes. So I'm going to tell you this. It's honestly, it's a horrible experience that I had. Yeah, because basically, like I was saying before, I didn't come from that engineering
Right.
background. I didn't know what was needed
This must have been
specifically.
the biggest task you ever taken on.
Yeah, this was the biggest challenge for sure. And it took me a lot of money and a lot of years to kind of like that I got burnt with because how do you find a team? You know, that's not
Right.
my background. I can find factories, no problem. I
But yeah,
could,
you know where the things are made, but you don't know who can design it.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing also was, I also came from that world that like, I didn't want my designers and I didn't want my designers and engineers to be in a factory in China because
Right.
I didn't trust China working with them for over 10 years. I didn't trust them because they basically white label everything. They'll take your
Mm.
product and copy it and paste it
And
and
then
give
do
it to
it
somebody
somewhere
else.
else and then
Yeah,
put whatever other name and that's it.
exactly.
I see.
And so, like, we wanted to have this is ours. We own this tech. We own this designs. We own everything. And we don't want it to be copy pasted for somebody else. And
Right.
so, finding teams were really hard. And we landed on two teams, a software team and an electrical team. Excuse me, the electrical team also had mechanical engineers and other engineers. And within 1 year, it took a long time, but within 1 year, we had found that they were like not really doing the work they were supposed to be doing. Yes. Yeah. So you're paying like tens of thousands of dollars out, and you find out after like, and they keep saying, yeah, we're doing this, and they would like show you something. They're showing you something, but it's not real.
My God.
Yes. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you asked, when was the first time I received the safe? The first time I received the safe was 1 year after I hired the engineering team, and it was completely incomplete. I think what they had done was they went to a factory, a metal factory. I think they just made a physical safe and kind of like faked it all. And when I got the sample, I was like, "What the hell is this?" You know?
And they say it's the prototype.
It's the prototype. And I'm like, but there's not even a software on here, you know? And they're like, oh, we're still developing it. And I had found out, I got very lucky. I mean, at that point, I felt these people weren't the right people for me, you know?
Oh,
Yes. But at around the same time, somebody who used to work for this firm reached out to me and said, hey, I used to work on your project, and I just want to let you know no one was really working on your project. Yeah, and you were paying all these monthly retainers, and the problem was it's not that they were like trying to be dishonest, it's just they didn't have anybody. And the people that they kept hiring, this firm kept hiring for my project, was just not capable, and they just weren't doing anything. And yeah, and so I had to actually restart the whole project again
oh
after,
my God. After that whole year.
yeah, the whole year. I had to find new software engineers, new hardware engineers, new electrical engineers.
Now,
Yes.
did you bring them, like, did you, in a way, kept them closer? What do you do to solve that problem of the no oversight and they were just like, kind of like waking?
I mean, I was having meetings with them every week,
Right.
sometimes twice a week, and I was asking them, whatever I needed to be asking them. And like, they were showing like, so this was the thing, right? They had many different engineers, and different engineers were doing different things.
Right.
But like, they were showing me, I guess, the engineers that were working.
Okay.
So like
Right.
we developed the whole locking mechanism. It took about 4 months to develop, and then they sent me a jig for the locking mechanism, and it was really amazing. It was a great locking mechanism, but like, they were showing me what they needed to show me.
So I need you to tell me how long did it take to get the final the one product, the one prototype that you said, okay, we're gonna do every single safe like this very safe that you have done?
Yeah. Okay. I think of the years in my head. I think it was about 2 years. Took basically what we took was, and so the first teams that I was working with, I was like saying, I outsourced the teams and I said, I'm going to try to get like the best value that I can get. That was the first teams, the first two teams that I got screwed with. Now, the next team, I said, you know what? I'm no longer doing that. Now I'm going to try to go for like a team that has a lot of incredible experience that has, you're paying a lot more money to.
Right.
And so I did that, and they were not good. But we were with them for about 2 years. Yeah, they were not good at all. And we were with them for about 2 years. We got samples, and the prototypes were essentially good, but they were missing a lot of things. And the PCBAs were not good. And we had to redesign a lot of the stuff
PCBAs.
again. You know, so I ended up leaving them, found another team, which now is my current team. I love my current team now.
Oh, perfect. Shout out to the new team.
Yes, but it took many years. It took like 3.5, 4 years, you know, like it took 3.5 years to get to where we have like a great product now, you know?
And now you're out in the market, you're selling it everywhere, where people can find this.
Yeah, right now we're sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, we're sold out.
News.
It's great news, but it's twofold. We're also raising money right now.
Okay.
Part of the reason we're sold out is because of the duties. We just stopped. We didn't remanufacture with China because the duties were like 160% this summer.
Yes.
You know, and we're already an expensive product.
Yes.
So we've been looking for different factories in different countries, and we have 2 different factories that we're working with right now that we're going to probably pull the trigger over the next 30 days. And
perfect.
Yeah, so it's very exciting because we're gonna get more safes out there in the market, but also because we have the new factories, we're also did like a couple new iterations as well.
Well, every product does.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
This is exciting times.
Yes, very exciting times. So version 2.0 of the SpaceSafe is going to be sick.
So it's safe to say that the best is yet to come.
So it's safe to say.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. And so the reason we're also raising right now is because we have 5 other safes that we want to release, and it just takes a lot of capital.
Right. It is.
It's capital intensive.
Detailed product, and none of those things to put together. You're almost putting like together an iPhone where I can put stuff in.
Exactly.
All right, Oscar, it's been amazing and super fun talking to you and knowing the whole story. And tell us, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so the website is thespacesafe.com, spacesafe.com. We also have a short link. It's sp.toys, toys. You could email us at mayday, mayday, at thespacesafe.com or at sptoys. Everything comes, we read every single email, whether it's questions and help with if somebody's starting a business or has questions that they need some assistance with anything, or if they just want to ask us questions to the company.
That's amazing. Thank you, Oscar, for joining us today. And this is Ala Kennedy and Oscar Hedaya signing off for the Ardan Labs podcast. I hope to see you soon again.